Hello, you wonderful people. Welcome to another episode of Nerd Mode, this being a show where I introduce you to a series that you may or may not be familiar with. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the NBC original series, Grimm. Like always, this isn't a review, it's just me talking about a series that I really like that I recommend you check out for yourself. Grimm is a fantasy/supernatural drama that follows Nick Burkhart, a Portland detective who discovers he's a Grimm. Grimms in this case being a special bloodline of people who can see the true faces of these creatures known as VIDS, as well as hunting said creatures called VIDS. After discovering that he is a Grimm, his once normal life becomes anything but normal. His girlfriend Juliet, as well as his partner Hank, as well as a lot of other people kind of get dragged into this newly crazy life of his. But not just humans either. Nick also has some VIDS allies too, like Rosalie and Monroe, balancing his life as a cop as well as his duties as a Grimm, which have a tendency to overlap. He aims to maintain order in both worlds, protecting and fighting for humans as well as VIDS alike. Okay, so let's break a few things down. First thing is, what exactly is a VIDS? They are basically kind of like a supernatural creature slash animal slash humanoid species that has existed in secret amongst humans for a very long time. They tend to appear to look like normal humans most of the times because of sort of like a natural glamour that they have. So to most people, they look like any other human. There are two exceptions, one being the Grimm that can see them, usually when their emotions get the better of them. Whether anger or fear or feeling sort of distress, this can temporarily cause their glamour to fade away. The act of losing said glamour is called vogue. Number two being the fact is that if they want to, VIDS can show their faces to anyone. Not just Grimms, but the regular people too. Now where do VIDS come from? Who knows? There are some things in the final season that kind of allude to some possible theories about where VIDS originate, but beyond that you never really get a definitive answer, which isn't really needed anyway. Basically Grimm kind of treats it as kind of like a, hey, this is just the world that is. Doesn't really matter how it got like that and why it's like that, it just is. There's humans and there's VIDS, leave it at that. Amongst VIDS there are many different types of species, like Monroe, who is a blue bottom, which is basically kind of like a werewolf minus the whole full moon thing, or Rosalie, who's a foxbow, which is essentially a fox, or a hexen beast, which is basically a witch. There are a lot of different species of VIDS coming in different shapes and sizes. Not all VIDS are bad, obviously you have great examples like Rosalie and Monroe to prove that, but not all of them are good either, which considering the fact is that Nick is a Grimm, him having VIDS friends is all that much weird. Grimms in the past tend to be more like chop your head off first, then ask questions later types, which makes Nick so different from them. There are even story elements that take it beyond just having VIDS allies and friends in later parts of the series. Now what do I mean by that? Well, I'd rather not really go into it too much because that would spoil certain storyline elements. I'm guessing him also being a cop plays a role in that too, his whole approach to the whole Grimm thing in comparison to his ancestors. Now let's talk a little bit about Grimms. Nick has some books that his ancestors had written in over the years that kind of act as a journal that explains some of their experiences with some of the VIDS they've come across over the years, but that's about it. You never really learn how Grimms came to be, well, Grimms. One of the few times in the series that you really do kind of dive into that at all is when they kind of explain Grimms dating back to the First Crusade, but that's only really dived into because of story relevance, like it plays a part in the series. But the things that you do learn about Grimms, which you kind of experience it through Nick, who's also learning it at the same time, all of that stuff doesn't happen all at once. It actually happens very sporadically across the series. Grimms are kind of a little tad bit superhuman. They definitely have increased senses and reflexes, maybe even strength to a certain degree, I think. Like certain things that would kind of work a certain way against just normal people kind of have a tendency to have adverse effects on Grimms. It's just something in their blood that just doesn't mix well. It is an element that kind of comes up a few times here and there throughout the series, and it kind of has varying degrees of effects, from like affecting just on a slightly smaller scale to having like big ramifications. The show is very action-packed. The action usually entails either close or range combat, ranging from hand-to-hand to using weapons like swords, axes, guns, crossbow, whatever the situation calls for. VIDS using either claws, fangs, venom, fire breath, whatever is in the VIDS arsenal. The show also has a bit of a comedy side to it as well, but it tends to lean more on the drama side of things. And because Nick is a cop, there is also a police procedural side of the show too. The series is complete. It actually ended earlier this year with a grand total of 123 episodes spanned across 6 seasons. So kind of the perfect time to check out the show since it is complete, so you don't have to wait, week to week for episodes or months in between for seasons. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.